Meeting of the Mobile City Council, Tuesday, April 2nd. Please stand for our invocation, led by Reverend Nicholas Kidd, Associate Minister, New Bayside Baptist Church, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Let us pray. Our Father, which art in heaven, holy is your name. Your kingdom come. Lord, we pray that your will be done in this place today. Give us this day, Lord, our daily bread, and forgive us all our trespasses as we forgive those that have wronged us. Lord, we thank you for allowing us into these chambers today to have discussions that will affect many people. We pray that your spirit will reign and rule in this place as these are made, that they will be fair, equitable, and it'll benefit everybody in this city. Lord, we thank you for this administration. Thank you for this council and everybody that's in this room, and everybody in this room that agrees said amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Vice President Manzi.
Here.
Councilmember Richardson.
Here.
Councilmember Small.
Here.
Councilmember Williams.
Here.
Councilmember Daves.
Here.
Councilmember Rich.
Here.
Councilmember Gregory.
Here.
Statement of rules.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First, I would ask that you would silence or turn off all of your electronic devices before or upon entering the council meeting. Any person desiring to address the council must sign in indicating the resolution, ordinance, appeal, or public hearing agenda item before entering the meeting. When addressing the council, we ask that each speaker clearly state both your name and your address. Any person desiring to speak to the council on a non-agenda item must contact the clerk's office on the Thursday preceding the Tuesday in which you'd like to speak by 2 p.m. The commentary that you'd like to offer must be pertinent to City of Mobile business. Anyone who has not given that proper notice to the city clerk's office will not be allowed to address the council on a non-agenda item. All speakers are granted 5 minutes. The bell will sound at the end of the 4th minute. That will indicate that you have 60 seconds for summarizing. The second bell indicates that your time has expired. When addressing the council, we ask that there be no personal address to any individual council member. All statements, comments ought to be made to myself, who serves as chair, and any council member who would like to respond will have that opportunity. To maintain decorum, there will be no undue applause and or public outcry allowed. Those are the rules of the council, and we're certainly appreciative of your interest in your municipal government. Madam City Clerk.
Approval of minutes of March 26th.
So move.
Second.
Properly motion and second. Any discussion? Great job as always. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved.
Communications from the mayor.
Well, good morning. Good to see everybody this morning. First, I would ask Chief Batiste to please come to the podium with the Officer of the Month, Corporal Ray Grissett, and I'll present the proclamation, but I'll let you tell the situation.
Good morning to the mayor, to the council, vice president, and council in general, to all those that are assembled. I'm here. It gives me great pleasure to present to you Mobile Police Department Officer of the Month, Corporal Raymond Grissett. He's rendered service to the city which deserves special recognition. On February 17th, units were dispatched to the Marriott on Airport Boulevard for thefts from guest rooms. Detective Grissett responded to the scene to conduct the investigation and interview the victims. During the investigation, a suspect was identified as one of the housekeepers and was linked to all the rooms where thefts had occurred due to his housekeeping master key. On the 21st, the suspect pawned a diamond necklace at a local pawn shop. Detectives executed a search warrant at the suspect's residence and vehicle. Several items stolen from guest rooms were found. Detective Grissett interviewed the suspect at the Baldwin County Jail, where he confessed to each of the thefts. He was assigned a total of 33 felony cases for the month of February and cleared 21 of those cases. 10 were cleared by arrest. Detective Grissett recovered approximately $50,000 in stolen property for the month of February. His initiative, enthusiasm, and excellence in the performance of his duties are an exceptional asset to all Mobilians. We are pleased to award him this certificate of recognition as Officer of the Month for February 2019.
As Corporal Grissett walks out the door, I'll say that during the opportunity I had to visit with him, I found out that he had deployed on 5 occasions as part of the U.S. Army as a first sergeant, but recently retired, came back to Mobile after having served here 40 years ago for a period of time, and then came back and has been here several years, but a long history of service to our country, and service to Mobile Police Department. So glad to have him back. It's an honor to have someone like himself. So Ashley Rich, District Attorney, Ashley Rich, if you would please come to the podium with whomever you would select from your team, and we'll talk about Crime Victims' Rights Week.
Good morning.
Morning.
Now, the proclamation for Crime Victims' Rights Week reads, whereas crimes of every type are committed every day, and thousands of innocent Mobilians are forced to deal with unwanted changes in their lives. And whereas crime can leave a lasting impact on any person, regardless of the age, race, creed, religion, gender, or economic status. And whereas honoring the rights of victims, including the rights to be heard and to be treated with fairness and dignity, and working to meet their needs rebuilds trust in the criminal justice system. And whereas serving victims, rebuilding their trust restores hope to victims and survivors while supporting thriving communities. Now therefore, I, William S. Stimson, 108th Mayor of the City of Mobile, do hereby recognize April 7th through 13th as Crime Victims' Rights Weeks in the City of Mobile. Congratulations and thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, members of the City Council, for this recognition of National Crime Victims' Rights Week. It is so important that for this week especially, we give victims a voice. Oftentimes in the criminal justice system, the defendant has all the rights when a case goes to court, and the victims' families do not get a voice. And so for National Crime Victims' Rights Week, we showcase victims of crime, and we give them an opportunity to have a voice. We hold a victims' vigil, which will be next Thursday at Mardi Gras Park at 6:30. They come and we give them a voice. They have an opportunity to talk about their loved ones that were hurt or killed as a result of crime, and they get an opportunity to have a voice. And that's what Crime Victims' Rights is all about, to recognize victims of crime, and that's what we're doing. And so I really genuinely appreciate you, Mayor, for giving us this proclamation, and you, members of the City Council, for recognizing how important this week is for crime victims. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I would ask Hillary Rodriguez and Abby Fletcher to join me, and I'll just read it from here. We have a proclamation regarding Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Proclamation reads, whereas the Rape Crisis Center has provided comfort and support to sexual victims in this community for 42 years, facilitating awareness and education while offering high-quality assistance to those in need. And whereas the Rape Crisis Center provides 24-hour service for sexual assault victims and their families through direct services, prevention education, and professional training to all citizens of the City of Mobile. And whereas the Rape Crisis Center serves a cross-section of people of various races, social, economic, and educational levels, in 2018, the center provided 760 crisis phone calls, 191 hospital calls, office visits, follow-up victim support calls, court advocacy, family, friends support, clothing bank, dolls, bears given to children victims, transportation, information, referrals to community agencies. Because of this now, therefore, I, William S. Stimson, the 108th Mayor of the City of Mobile, do hereby recognize the Rape Crisis Center and proclaim April 2019 Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the City of Mobile. Thank you for what you're doing. Congratulations. So one of y'all can make remarks, or both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you all very much. On behalf of the Rape Crisis Center and our staff, we're honored to serve victims of sexual assault and their loved ones. We operate 24 hours a day, and in the past year have accompanied 191 victims to USA Women's and Children's for forensic collection kits. We'd also like to recognize our partners, if you'll please stand as you're called, the City of Mobile's Police Department, Mobile County District Attorney's Office, and the University of South Alabama's research team for the strides we've made working together on the Promise Initiative. Through community awareness and training, we've seen a 14% increase in reporting. And we ask that you please take a moment to view our display in the atrium, and we hope to see y'all at our awareness events this month. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, a couple other announcements. This is the time of year, it just seems that everybody's trying to have an event. A lot of them are fundraisers and others just trying to take advantage of the great weather we have this time of year. But Gina and I had an opportunity to do something that was very unique, and that was to spend part of Saturday helping with the inauguration ceremony of the Hindu Temple and Cultural Center in Mobile. Councilman Gregory joined us along with Sam Cochran and others. But anyway, first time there's ever been a Hindu temple along the Gulf Coast. And for a dedication ceremony, I can say it was a first for me to participate in something like that. But it's indicative of the growing Indian American community that we have in Mobile, which I've come to know, as many of the other elected officials, is a very close-knit, very organized community that make a lot of contributions to our city. So we're, anyway, grateful to have the opportunity to participate and to be asked to participate. On another note, this past weekend was a startup weekend, and Startup Weekend is an organization that works in partnership with Google for Startups. And so individuals came in Friday afternoon, worked through Sunday. There was a 54-hour period in there where they had to pitch and refine and launch an idea into a business. High intensity, lots of very bright young people. The judges, tremendously experienced. In the City of Mobile, it was sponsored by the Innovation Portal and by the Chamber of Commerce. And the whole idea is to make sure that we stay out on the very leading edge, to make sure young folks and middle-aged folks like me, if you're interested in doing some kind of tech startup, that we're there to help you. And this is a great way to get that message out. So anyway, grateful for the sponsors and those that came from around the country to participate in this. But it's just another indication of good stuff going on in the city. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Madam City Clerk.
Adoption of the agenda.
So move.
Second.
Probably motion and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, Aye. Opposed? Agenda is adopted.
We have requests for a waiver of the noise ordinance on May 5th in Cooper Riverside Park, April 27th on South Monterey Street, April 5th at the Bragg Mitchell Mansion on Spring Hill Avenue, April the 8th, Cooper Riverside Park, and April the 9th on Dolphin Street. I'm sorry, the April the 9th is through July 10th on Dolphin Street.
Is there
Motion to grant the appeal.
is there a second?
Second.
Proper motion and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Items pass. Appeals pass.
Public hearings today. It's a public hearing to consider approval of the application of Cortavia Henderson doing business as New Beginning Medical Transportation for a certificate of public convenience and necessity to operate a shuttle service.
Is there anyone here that would like to offer any commentary relative to this public hearing? If not, the public hearing is closed.
Public hearing. Today is a public hearing to determine if the structures at 857 Elmira Street, 566 Bates Lane, 2457 Dolphin Island Parkway, 3917 Dolphin Island Parkway, 2301 Hillwood Drive East, and 2217 Hoppin Street are public nuisances and ordering them demolished.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak to any of these public hearings? Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Clifford Pryor. I was the prior owner of 2301 East Hillwood Drive, and I'm no longer the owner. The owner was changed in 8/13/2018 to United Bank. Wells Fargo received the property back because they had made a foreclosure on August 8th, 2018. I do have the foreclosure deeds saying that I no longer own the property, so they sent me letters in reference to the property. So that's what I came to say. So
yes, sir. Mr. Dolphinbach is here. If you could get with him, he just raised his hand. He'll be able to work with you to get the issue resolved.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking time coming down. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on any of the addresses or properties referenced by the city clerk? Come on.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just came together from the city council.
We need your name and your address, please.
My name is Abdul Allah Habibi. My address is 719 Dabin Island Parkway.
3917 Dolphin Island.
And which property are you here in reference to?
3917.
What's that?
3917.
39. Oh, I didn't hear him clearly. So what is your mailing at? Where do you live?
I came together proof for my license. I'm a new owner of the business. I need the city council proof to get all my license.
Okay, let's, because maybe he's here for something different.
Oh, he's at 719 Dolphin Island Parkway.
Right.
Okay. No, this is he's here for a liquor license.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So,
which one is that? Is that the 719 one? Is that the one in District 2? Yeah.
Okay, fine, no problem. All right.
I'm going to have that item laid over so that my office can contact you and you and I can have an opportunity to meet this week.
Okay. All right.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So this is something different.
These are
anyone here for any of the houses that Mr. Lambert referenced connected with public hearings? If not, the public hearings are closed.
presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Greg Reynolds.
I don't see Mr. Reynolds. He's not here.
Okay. Bill Boswell.
I don't see Mr. Boswell either.
And Mr. Boswell did inform us prior to the meeting that he was on jury duty. So
Right.
I would ask that his name be pushed to next week if we could, Madam Clerk.
Fred Wheeler.
Mr. Fred Wheeler. This would be the second week Mr. Wheeler stood us up. All right.
Gary Miller.
Man.
Mr. Miller. Well, I know Mr. Hill's here.
Gary Miller?
Yes, sir.
Gary Miller.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I come to speak on the yes dear to me.
Mr. Miller, can we get your name and address, please?
Pardon me.
And Mr. Toller, if you don't mind, could you ask Mr. Doffenbach to step back in? He's going to have some information related to citations that I'm sure Mr. Miller is going to want to hear about. But you can proceed, Mr. Miller.
Yeah, I come to speak on
Your name and address.
Gary Miller, 803 Murphy Avenue.
What city is that?
Richard, Alabama.
All right. What zip code?
36610.
There we go. All right.
Yeah, I'm come here to speak concerning the Happy Hill community and the Josephine Allen projects that's been vacant for 8 years. And I've spoken with you on occasion. You had a community meeting at the church out in the area. And I've spoken with the housing board, and I've even called Doug Jones' office trying to get something done about the condition of the Josephine Allen projects. It's in deplorable condition. Over a third of the apartments don't have roofs. All the windows have been torn out, all of the rest of the apartment, no doors. You have asbestos in these apartments. You have mold, mildew. And the people of the area, see, a lot of people stand, Josephine Allen is the project. But you got a community surrounding the project where people own property and live. Been living there hundreds of years. And their property value is going down. And I'm coming to the city council because this has been going on over 8 years. And the people out there need some relief. And we had our wits end. Roger Williams, it was closed 3 years ago. They finna get some revitalization going on. It's been torn down. They finna rebuild from affordable homes. And Happy Hill, Josephine Allen area, been closed years. And the people, you know, they just fed up with the deteriorated condition that I saw. They got to come out their house and look at that complex out there with mold and mildew, infestation of rats. You even have homeless people coming out there living at night now. You know, the city got them out up under the bridge. They got them from off Conception Street Road, the homeless people. But now they out there in the Happy Hill community. People know who those people are. And the people out just need some relief. You know, and it saddens me because Roger Williams was on St. Stephen Road on Front Street. But seems like this community is over in Africa Town, back up out of sight, out of mind. And we just need to get some results out there. And I want to know what can the city do to get the housing board, a HUD, somebody to come and do something about the condition.
Yes, sir. Mr. Miller, I join you in being, and I've said this publicly on several occasions, totally in congruence with your commentary about the deplorable condition of the former Josephine Allen complex. We shouldn't have communities in our city and residents of our city that have to live in those conditions and be surrounded by those conditions. We've expressed that to the housing board. They've had 2 executive directors that I know I've met with on several occasions about what would be the next steps. They've got a temporary executive director in Mr. Michael Pierce, who I believe, working with Mr. Jamie Roberts from the Mobile, hopefully we'll finally get some traction going. And I was informed that Mr. Doffenbach might have some commentary to share as it relates to potential citations. Mr. Dolphin, is there anything you would want to add to this discussion that Mr. Miller might be able to leave here hearing from you?
Mr. Vice President?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Doffenberg, come down. I would like to tell Mr. Miller, I appreciate you coming down. This has been a great concern of mine personally of how we can travel up and down 1 I-65 and look over there to the right if we're going towards Montgomery and see the bad conditions of Happy Hill, the old projects. Since I've been on council, I have been with both administrations, the Jones and the Stimpson administrations, stressing about the conditions of Birdsville. Birdsville has many open apartments with the windows open, doors open, and it has always been my concern that something will happen to those kids right behind Maryville Elementary School. The housing board several times about the situation. They said that they would do something about it. To me, nothing still ain't done about it. They said they're gonna go in and patch us the windows and etc. You know, some months back, you know, something happened over there in the Birdsville, you know, community. For the past 8 months, I have stated I don't understand how Roger Williams gets so much attention so quick. You know, Happy Hill been like that for years. 8 years. For years. Yeah, I can't vouch for how long. And Birdsville been like that for years, and that's in my district. But Roger Williams, the residents was there 2 years ago, now it's completely gone, and now they feel look like they're trying to go ahead and revitalize it. And Birdsville been like that ever since I've been on council, and I've been on council for 6 years. I have great concerns of what's actually going on myself, but I do appreciate you coming down and putting more light on this situation because, again, not only that people in Plateau are suffering, I have people around the Birdsville community that are suffering too. They had to travel through the neighborhoods and look at these open houses and open windows and doors. And again, my concern is the safety for those kids at Maryville Elementary School, just as well as the safety of the people over there in the Plateau community. But trust me, you're not alone on this situation. If it's something I could have done years ago about Birdsville, I would have done. But as well as my hands, as well as Councilman Manson's hands, our hands are tied.
I understand that, sir, and that's what I've been getting every time I bring this subject matter up at a meeting or something. Yeah. The city can't do it. It's up at the HUD. The housing board got to get permission from HUD, but the place is still in disarray.
And I do agree with that, and I'm not too sure. I might be speaking out of turn, but I feel like the city possibly could find the housing board for having the open doors, open windows, and those conditions. I'm not too sure if the city can't find them or not, but I believe they can, because I know that I had some incidents in the RV Taylor projects under the Jones administration. And I remember that the Jones had called over to the housing board and threatened them with fines and everything. So apparently the city need to tighten up their belt with fines with the housing board or what, you know, but something needs to be done.
I appreciate it. And one other thing I'd like to mention, when they did close Josephine Allen, they closed the Boys and Girls Club as well. And the people in around the area don't have any recreation for our youth. It just, I mean, with the crime situation like it is, and the youth don't have nothing to do when they get out of school, no recreation or nothing. I mean, I didn't understand why they closed the Boys and Girls Club, you know, because the majority of the people that went to that club was in the surrounding area. And they need some more recreation out in the community as well.
Well, we certainly, again, appreciate you coming. There's an agenda item that's on today's agenda dealing with recreational improvements at Kid Park. And that's just the start, $189,000 worth of drainage and site amenity improvements. And that's the start of a nearly $500,000 project that we're undertaking in the Plateau Africatown community to address recreation. And the community center is open. They've got a brand new walking trail there. The community center is offering amenities to both seniors, the middle-aged, and our young people. They just have to avail themselves of that opportunity, and if they would go more regularly, I'm sure they would offer increased program. So we're going to hear from Mr. Doffenbach relative to whatever you might have by way of for Mr. Miller to hear what you have to say.
Yes, and just want to let you know, Mr. Miller and I had a chance to speak before the council meeting today. So some of the points that I'm about to bring up, we did have a little bit more discussion and details, so he's aware of where we're going with the plan. And you are correct, Mr. Roberts, with community housing development, neighborhood development is spearheading a plan to address the Happy Hills, what's left at the housing project. And that plan is going to involve municipal enforcement, but also community housing development and also the housing board to eliminate the situation that we see there today, with the ultimate goal to secure, remove, and repurpose or redevelop at a later date. What that final plan is, I don't know what it is yet. Mr. Roberts would have a better ability to give you more specific details, but it is operational now. And as for issuing municipal fence tickets, I think we're steering towards a nuisance abatement action. So in a couple months, you'll see before the council a request to declare that property a public nuisance.
Thank you.
Excuse me, and one other thing I wanted to say.
Mr. Miller, your time is you know, each speaker gets 5 minutes.
Well, I thought he took up some of my time.
No, sir, he didn't. That was extra time.
Okay.
But we appreciate you coming down.
Can I just make one other point, sir?
Your time has expired, Mr. Miller. Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, there's absolutely nothing personal. If we were in a community meeting, I would listen to Mr. Miller all evening. But we stated the rules at the very beginning of the meeting. It's nothing personal, but I'm charged with keeping a timely flow of the meeting. Thank you. And thank you for coming down, Mr. Miller.
Reggie Hill.
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, in the absence of our mayor, to the administration, citizens, and stakeholders of Mobile, good morning. Reggie Hill, 1007 Center Street. I rise today to continue my conversation regarding public safety here in the city of Mobile. And I want to do so from a different standpoint than just presenting data or materials. I would like to also continue to express the idea that we bring forth solutions as well. I think it's very important that we listen to the concerns of all constituents in the city of Mobile, but I think it's even more important that we present ideas that can actually help us to move forward. And I believe that since I have been coming and petitioning to this council, to the administration of the city, I have as well provided materials that I believe could be used to move forward with solutions. So I'm going to do that as well today. We did some exploratory ideas within the nonprofit organization which I represent, Success for the Future. And I wanted to pick some specific areas because I believe that you have to show every person that is a part of the delegated body how important their role is in moving forward with these situations. So I picked something in District 5. I believe that is very important because the representative from the area also is over the Finance Committee. I believe that resources would have to be in place for things that we want to do moving forward. And I think it would be great information for him to know what people in his district think. I also picked something from someone who was a member of the original YES program and worked consecutive years in the mayor's office directly. And so this is someone who has been a part of a piece that was put in from the administration on how to move forward, and we're given insight on how it's connected to the community, specifically with Success for the Future. So we have roughly about 40 plus kids that have been direct portions of the exploratory committee. And I chose to pick one of the individuals who went forth with a petition which says, where Success for the Future exists to ensure that young people stay clear of pathways that lead towards delinquency, social dependency, and incarceration. We hereby affix our signatures in full support of all programs and projects implemented by S4TF on behalf of youth in Mobile. We stand in concert as one voice to our leaders and elected officials and endorse all proposals presented to the public by S4TF now and in the future. This is a formal petition for the city and county of Mobile to partner with S4TF for worthwhile initiatives to impact adolescents in the community. Now again, we had about 40 individuals participating in this exploratory initiative. This is one person from a high school in District 5, where he alone was able to garnish 94 signatures himself. Again, we have about 40 people participating in exploratory initiative. This is one person with 94 signatures on his own. One person. I'd like to talk about the letter that was sent to the mayor from, again, the young man who participated in the YES initiative when it was first introduced. This is what it says: Dear Mayor Stimson, I hope that this letter finds you in good mind, body, and spirit. My name is D'Angelo Portis, and while I know that you know me, I must let you know that I am a different person than I was over the summer. Since the beginning of the school year, I've grown into my role as ambassador for the Alabama School of Math and Science, as well as the chairman of I-HEAL, I Help Empower All Lives, which is a relatively new youth group aimed at creating young leaders. I-HEAL is an affiliate program of Success for the Future, which the program aims to ensure that youth stay on the right path by putting them into behavioral intervention and character development programs. I personally have never seen a program quite like this one in my lifetime. It has changed the way I think and has honestly made me reconsider what I want to do in the future. It was not too long ago that Deborah Barnett, the CEO of the U.S. Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, visited the school and gave a speech about people reinvesting in the state. It reminded me of your talk about people reinvesting in the city to continue improvement. Now that I'm actively working with I-HEAL and Success for the Future to improve communities all around the city, I can see the difference I am capable of making. It has inspired me to try and heed the words of those around me and reinvest in my hometown and home state. This is why I'm writing this letter, to let you know what our potential program holds. So again, we have all the places all across the county, not just the 7 districts, even though we have young people in all 7 districts. We have people all across this county that are working to actually create the solutions. And I hope that if we really want to move forward doing so, eradicating these things, particularly what Mr. Miller even mentioned about the safety in this community, we have to put things in place to do it. And I think this is the time for it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr.
Barbara Brewster.
Ms. Brewster? I don't believe she's here.
I did neglect to call Peter Toller from the Forestry Department, and he's coming to invite the council and introduce the International Society of Arboriculture, who will be coming to Mobile.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Peter Toller, Urban Forester, City of Mobile. Address, 6 Maury Drive, Mobile, District 1. Yay! Yeah. All right. Let me get my notes here. The International Society of Arboriculture's 77th conference is coming to Mobile this weekend. We have events starting on Wednesday. It's a tree risk assessment qualification course for certified arborists. We'll have our convention this weekend and the first of next week, and the event that I would like all of everyone to come out to is our tree climbing championship. It will be held at Lions Park in District 2.
All right.
And we have a team of board certified master arborists that are going to go from one end of the park to the other, trim it, take care of every tree in the park, give it a haircut, make it safe to climb. We're going to have aerial rescue operations. We're going to have the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, and several other volunteer organizations out there helping out. We're going to have an 80 vendor trade show coming through. We're going to have classes all throughout the weekend and first of next week. Anybody would like to come and register for the conference, you don't have to be an arborist to sign up. Learn more about the tree care industry, learn more about trees, and learn more about what makes a city great is our tree canopy. So I just wanted to announce that to everybody and hope you'll come out. Any questions? Any comments?
Any questions or comments from Mr. Toll?
Yeah, Peter, what time and what day for the tree climbing?
The tree climbing will be Saturday. It'll start at 8 a.m. and it roughly goes until about 3 p.m. I will be there all day long cheering them on. It is definitely a sight to see.
Okay.
And a disclaimer that I think is important for this city is no trees will be harmed during this competition.
I'm just wondering, are you going to participate in the tree climbing?
Oh, am I going to be? No. I have a 6-month-old that zaps all my energy, so I have elected to cheer.
And you said it's open to the public. Do you have a flyer that we could run in our newsletters to
I
let
can,
people know you have
George,
something?
we can send them a flyer on all the information on
Yeah.
it. Sure, absolutely.
Please do that.
Sure.
Let's do that. I'm gonna
Absolutely.
try my best to get out there at Lions Park.
Yes,
That's
sir.
great. Appreciate
Lions
y'all
Park,
being
as
there.
they say, will be hopping.
All right.
Mr. Vice President?
Yes, sir.
Peter, we have a citizen investigator into trees with us today.
Yes,
Ms. Irene Antone. And she will probably be in the park to make sure that y'all trim the trees and not whack the trees.
We will trim them according to ANSI A300 pruning standards with the ISA.
Just saying.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Anton approved.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you
Thank
coming
you.
down.
Carl Deagle.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you all for letting me speak this morning. My name is Carl Deacle, and my family has lived at 54 West Delwood Drive for a little over 11 years. And I'm here today representing the neighbors of Delwood, and we've put in a proposal to purchase a tract of land on Durante Drive that's known as the Forestry extension. There are a number of residents from Durante Drive and from Delwood and other neighbors. If y'all want to stand up and be recognized, please do so. Thank y'all. My mother and father, Leo and Kay Deagle, had 9 children, and we all grew up behind St. Pius X Church in Meadowbrook on Briarwood Drive. And the woods on Durante Drive was one of our many playgrounds. And so I know the area very well, grew up in it as a child, and loved having it there. And for all the hurricanes, it became a big field, so it's no longer the woods. My wife and I purchased our property in November of 2007. And one of the many things that among the many things we liked about our property is that it was located in Midtown. My home that I grew up in is a couple blocks away. My 91-year-old father still lives there. It's a very family-friendly neighborhood. And there's also a big field right behind our house that is the Florida Street extension. And really, it's kind of like having the city of Mobile as your neighbor. We knew that this property forever had been set up as the Florida Street extension, so it could possibly go through there. And knowing that, we talked to Reggie Copeland pretty often and said, hey, what's going on with it? We expressed interest 8 years ago could we take the property over as homeowners and extend our property and maintain it, but there was really no interest there. But one of the things Reggie always made clear to us is that if anything ever happened with that property, that we'd know about it well in advance. And one of the common things he told me and many others is that nothing would ever happen with Florida Street extension in his lifetime. He just said it was too expensive and too hard to build the bridges over to Highway 90, but all things change. Well, on 6th, the day after Mardi Gras, the City Council held a meeting. A new ordinance was proposed to sell this 3.4-acre tract of land to JPV BTS. And I didn't know who that was. But just to let you guys know, this tract of land is not just close to our house or close to our property, it actually adjoins our property. So this piece of property, it adjoins my property and 5 other residents of Delwood. It physically touches that property. And it's right across the street from the Durante Drive residents. And neither Delwood or Durante Drive residents received any prior notification from the city at all that this property was even up for sale. When we heard about this March 7th, the day after the council meeting, we got together a group of neighbors. You can imagine how hard it is to get 5 neighbors to agree, but everybody quickly said, we can't let this development happen. What it was told to us is it was going to be a multifamily development, and that there were some changes going in, but we said, we'd really like to buy this property and keep it as a green space. And so all of the property owners said, okay, let's get together. We called Mr. Daves, and we expressed our opposition to the sale of the property to the JPV BTS. But more importantly, we offered full appraised price for the property, and we offered to reimburse anybody for any appraisal costs or anything that they had spent, in getting the property, for the other proposal. And again, our intention is to protect this property, keep it as green space. We asked for Mr. Davis' approval and support, and he said he would. And I'm very grateful that you've been supporting us in this all the way. I created a petition on change.org, which I've never done before, but and I sent it out to all the local residents, and in a very short amount of time. We had 227 signatures on this petition supporting the purchase property by the Delwood neighbors and in opposition of the purchase of the property by JPV BTS for development. And I've got a copy of the petition. There are a few comments on here as well that people put, and all the signatures, and I'll submit to the clerk for the records. So since our initial communication with Mr. Daves, we've had numerous discussions with the residents of Delwood. We've had numerous phone calls and face-to-face discussion with the folks over on Durante Drive, just because we wanted to hear what everybody's concern was. And really the biggest concern that we're aware of is that the Durante Drive residents wanted something in writing that would say, hey, this is what we're going to do with the property. And I can't get that in writing from all of the residents because we're not buying this thing to keep it as a tract of land. We're planning to zone it. Planning to have somebody come and survey it, and then basically the Delwood neighbors would have their own tract of land. It won't be a development. So all we've told them is that our plan is to keep this as green space, and our intention is to basically maintain the space better than it's ever been maintained by the city. And if we get that property, then the area that we have on the other side of our wall would be up a lot better than it's been. So those are really the big assurances that we've given them. And so today, I'm here to ask you,
Mr. Deagle,
oh, I'm so sorry.
I believe that was your Madam City, that was your time.
I'm sorry?
That was your time.
Oh, that was my time. Okay,
yes,
I thought I was giving a 1 minute warning or something.
It was
heard that a minute ago.
It played. The 1 minute warning was a minute ago.
It was a minute ago.
Sorry about that.
Yes, sir.
All I was going to do is say thank you and please vote today.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Bruce McKinnon.
Mr. McKinnon.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am T. Bruce McKinnon. I'm a lifelong resident of Mobile, Alabama. My family and I have lived in Midtown for about 20 years, and I'm here along with my wife, along with neighbors from Delwood as well as the Durante neighbors.
Mr. McKinnon, can you give us
I live at 352 Delwood Drive West.
Yes, sir.
And I have resided there for about 15 years. I wish to thank you for your service to this great city. It is sincerely appreciated from my family. I realize as a business owner and a board member of numerous nonprofits that your service as council members is a great responsibility. So thank you very much. My family's international publishing company, Elevator World, has been in Mobile for more than 65 years. And for 50 years on Morgan Avenue in Midtown, which is just about 3 blocks from Durante, Delwood, or the Florida Street extension property we're talking about. The reason I mention this is because in 2004, my wife and I started a nonprofit to revitalize the public Memorial Park adjacent to our offices. This park had really nothing in it for families to enjoy, and it had really become a place for crime, drugs, and homelessness. My family invested $20,000 to get the fundraising started, and as a community grassroots effort with the support of Reggie Copeland, many other council members, as well as the mayor at that time, we raised over $250,000. With that money, the Midtown Playground, along with many trees and other improvements, were constructed. As a family, we knew that bringing children and families together in this park would help push out the bad element and bring awareness to the needs of the homeless. This project brought value to multiple districts, most obvious District 5, but also Districts 1 and 2 as they border this park. In 2014, we closed out a 501c3, and we donated the balance of $17,000 that I personally handed a check to Brad Christensen. This went toward improved lighting, new signage, fountain repair, and other upgrades. And if you guys know this park has since exploded with the skateboard park, dog park, the park recreation building was tore down. So it's an unbelievable park now for everybody to enjoy. So the point is, my family has a history of giving and preserving green space. And Florida Street Extension matter, in my opinion, is not really that much different. So I'm here asking you to approve the sale of the 3.4 acres, formerly known as Florida Street Extension, that adjoins my property, along with 5 other neighbors along West Delwood Drive. The purchase is presented in the name of TBM Investments LLC. It's a company that I own, only to meet the city's requirement to sell to one entity. On your approval of this sale, our plan is to survey the property and then have it subdivided as individual lots that match up exactly to each of our home's property lines. Each owner will then close on their lot, and hopefully we will be able to plan to coordinate all in one transaction. All Delwood and Durande Drive neighbors, as we have met with them yesterday, agree that the Delwood neighbors agree with the Delwood neighbors purchasing this, and the Delwood neighbors are fully prepared to maintain this property better than the city has in the past. There are no plans for any homeowners to develop this property, allowing it to continue as a green space. I trust you will see this in our favor and vote to approve the purchase of this property by the Delwood neighbors, ultimately preserving the peace to both Delwood and Durande neighbors. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time, Mr. McKenna.
Jeremy Neff.
Did I go? No. My name is Jeremy Neff. I live at 432 Durand Drive with my wife Jessica and two young children, one of whom spoke out of turn earlier. I want to apologize for him.
That's okay.
You got a little mouthy up there.
Right.
Yeah, my iPad real quick. Sorry about that. So I am here today to ask the council to delay a vote on Ordinance 88-013 in front of you today. First off, I want to say I've got tremendous respect for both Mr. Deacle and Mr. McKinnon. They met with us. We spoke several times, but that last statement was not entirely true. We haven't, as a group, and there's other Durand Drive members here that may identify themselves at some point, agree to all the terms of this purchase. I have two issues specifically. I'm not going to speak for them, but they may raise their hands at the end. First is notification. I bought my home on 432 Durand Drive almost 6 years ago. I bought it across the street from city-owned property with the understanding that's what it was. If that changes, I feel like the city has a responsibility to notify me and the other property owner that's adjacent or adjoining to that property. The city, to the best of my knowledge, doesn't have a process by which they sell real estate assets, and so that affects everybody around. So we may sell property here differently we sell it over here. That's the first issue. Secondly is future use. If the council will look at the items before you on March 26th, the proposed sale has an illustrated map, okay, of the land to be sold. I'm directly adjacent from the bottom of that street. It includes a section that is not paved, but is considered a turnaround for city, fire, EMT services. Now, under the proposed sale, that would become private property. I don't know if we've considered that or not. So I think that the sale is a bit hasty. We don't personally, nobody in attendance here, myself, doesn't throw their lot in for a developer to purchase it, for Delwood to purchase it. We want to slow this process down. We want at least a month continuance to actually have a discussion and notify every property owner on the street that the property adjacent to theirs is going for sale. And we feel like that's a fair request. I appreciate where the Delwood residents are coming from. I aspire to live in a neighborhood like that one day. If I were in their position, I would absolutely support that proposed purchase. So it is not at odds or a personal issue as mentioned earlier with them. I think this is a fair issue. There's not been adequate notifications. The way we found out about the purchase was through an anonymous letter put in our mailbox from a concerned citizen. And then once we started reaching out and speaking to different council members, then the story unfolded. I'm not in favor of John Vallis buying the property. I'm not in favor of the Delwood residents buying the property. I'm in favor of a more fair and transparent process by which we sell real estate and the notification to anyone that's affected. So future use of the land would obviously need to be considered, but then also verification for anybody that's affected or who would want to make an offer on it, including myself or the other members of Durand for any purposes, whether it's development, build a park, whatever. I urge you to delay a vote for 1 month. I don't see any downside risk to the city delaying this vote by a month to allow for adequate notification of the members that own property along Durand Drive. It's also important to note, while this property does adjoin 6 lots in Delwood, it directly is adjacent to 15 homes on Durand, okay? There is a concrete wall that divides the property. Although it's the city's responsibility to maintain the property, we have, for years, many of the people in attendance now, taken an active role in maintaining it, trash pickup, calling the city to make sure the grass got cut. So we are every bit as invested in this tract of land as anyone else involved here today at this meeting. So, in summary, my ask is for a delay of the vote for 1 month to allow for notification. And if that continues to be the sale to the Delwood residents, we understand we can't hold them contractually to any kind of an agreement. It'll be up to city ordinance to how they keep the land. But it should at least give us an opportunity to discuss how it's going to be used. And honestly, as a taxpayer of the city of Mobile, if I was not in this neighborhood, I'd want to make sure we were getting, fair value for the land as well. So, I forget anything? That's all I have for you. Thank you for your time. I urge you to delay the vote.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
I have a question,
Please.
though, just for clarification.
Please, Beth.
The street comes to just a complete dead end with no turnaround, correct?
Duran Drive is true dead-end street. If you want to see it, drive down. Right. It
Yes.
ends dead end in my driveway.
I did go down it.
Yeah.
And you're saying that when you do have either trash or a response from fire, they need the turnaround?
They hop a curb to get around in an area that is not paved, but goes over
But it's part of this territory?
If you look at the city map that's on the agenda from March 26th and look at the proposed ordinance to sell this property, it includes an illustration that goes all the way to the end of the street, is adjacent to my home and the last house on the street. That area is up for sale. It would become private property under the proposed sale. There's a gravel house circle where the turnaround actually takes place, and there's a city sewer right there. But I think this underscores the hasty nature by which we're selling the property. We need to slow it down, understand exactly what we're selling, right? And then notify the residents on both sides of the property. Is that a fair request?
Well, I mean, I needed clarification about vehicles being able to make a safe turnaround.
But you turned it right on yourself, so
Yes,
you can visualize what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Right. So
Proper.
was that taken into account when they surveyed? I'll ask that to Councilman.
I don't know. I don't know whether it was or
Any
not.
further questions?
I think Mr. Deacle has got a response to that concern.
Sure.
That would be great, because I think that is something that's a public issue.
I can say on behalf of the Delwood residents that are looking to purchase that property, if the city wanted to come in and put a turnaround there, that there would be no opposition for that to happen right there. I mean, because the property owners that are going to be purchasing that piece of property have, they have a big piece of property, it's wooded, and so it's really just protecting it as green space. So if they need a safe place to turn around, the city wanted to put
So it could be
something,
reserved
I don't think it
as
would be any
still
problem
staying in the
whatsoever.
public trust when it's
So
surveyed?
if that's a delay, please don't let that be a delay, because that's an easy fix.
Thank you.
So I don't know if y'all, the Delwood neighborhood was built by the Delchamps, and there were two big pieces of property at the end of the Delwood neighborhood. And so the Wilsons have a big piece of property, it's like 6 acres. And so this property is coming alongside of them. They want to keep it green, they're fine with it. But so they will not have any issues with us doing the turnaround.
Thank you. And I just want to make certain that all of us know going forward. This morning I asked the council members Dave, Richardson, and Gregory serve on a special ad hoc committee dealing with the disposition of city-owned real estate, so that we have one process across all departments, across all of the city, that everybody is aware of, and that there isn't a process for this side of the city and another process for the other. This floor has this way of written itself of property, this one has another way. We need one process, a seamless process across the city that lends itself to both fairness and transparency. They've accepted that committee assignment. The administration is on board. I'm hopeful. We're working with them so that we can come up with an ordinance that kind of speaks to the concerns that I've heard as it relates to this process and some other processes dealing with real estate across the city of Mobile. So I look forward to that committee beginning its work and ask that they would be as deliberate as possible and as open and as transparent as possible to make certain that what they bring back is something that will work for all of the citizens here in the city of Mobile.
Mr. Vice President.
Mr. Richardson.
In that regard, as a member of that committee, I would like to ask the mayor for a moratorium on selling any city property until we come back with this process for selling city property all over the city. Because in my district, in Sheltergate, There are 18 lots over there, and the citizens over there are very disturbed. So I think we need to have a moratorium on selling any city property until this council can come up with a fair and equitable way of disposing of city property in the same manner everywhere. And that would be my.
Mr. Vice President.
Mr. Small?
Yeah, I would like to agree with my colleague, Councilmember Richardson, because trust me, I'm pro-neighborhood, and I hear both sides. Understand you said Reggie Copeland had told you 8 years ago that that property would never been sold. Conversation came up in pre-council meeting today, and it said, you know, our attorney had made a statement. I said, you know, if we be here, you know, we have the right to deny it. But the thing about it is, I'm pretty sure that Reggie Copeland had the same idea that the council would deny, but Reggie Copeland is not here no more. That's why it's good to have things in pretty much in black and white, especially coming from the city. Understand that the gentleman up here said, you know, to slow things down, and I don't blame you. You know, I would say slow this down too, because to me it's not right that, you know, this particular developer had went in and did all his work, paid for the appraiser, been working on it for months, and now it seems like I'm just about to get ramshammed, you know, in my eyes. Again, I'm pro-neighborhood, but again, it's just fair is fair, you know, wrong is wrong, right is right. And again, I really think that this process should slow down because, again, to me, if this is passed today, this council is setting a precedent. And again, you know, someone this week wants to buy a piece of property and they go to the city and find out that it's for sale and the city decide to sell it. Well, Mojo might buy it too, you know, so there need to be some type of order in place. There'll be a protocol place that we should be able to follow, the citizens should be able to follow, especially like even put this on the website. You know, if this property is for sale, put it on the website. Everybody is able to have the opportunity to look at this piece of property and say, hey, you know, we had the opportunity to buy this property, or we didn't have the opportunity to buy this property. And as the city go forth in selling properties, I believe that we should have something in place, such as a website for every citizen in the city of Mobile, no matter they next door, round up the corner, across the street, or in the next state over. They had an opportunity to look and say, hey, we had an opportunity to look at this particular property, you know, and we decided not to buy it, so therefore we allow XX person or resident to buy this piece of property. But again, I do support your theory, Mr. Richardson, and I do support both y'all neighbors, but to me, I'm not ready to vote on this because of all the things I just mentioned earlier. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we're still in a public comment. We have no motion on the floor at all on anything, so we could get the clerk at my request. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Any further comment from the council? I understand that, Mr. Williams. I'm able to thank you, Mr. Williams. I appreciate your support.
Just trying to maintain order. We have other speakers.
I am well able to maintain order, Mr. Williams. Thank you. I appreciate your help and appreciate your efforts.
I appreciate yours. Thank you very much. Let's carry on the meeting.
Yes, and I'm going to do just that. Any further commentary from the council? Mrs. Rich?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I too feel a welcome to know that this council is going to work on a process, because we've had some, in my opinion, some missteps in disposing of public land. The idea is that before any land should transfer, there is a distinct need to say, and it's only this council who decides if the land is no longer needed for the public. And I think that starts the discussion and can be you know, elaborated on, put on a website, but and also notification to people like we do with the planning commission within 300 feet of land that's going to change zoning. This wouldn't mean a change of zoning, but it would mean that the land was being put out as no longer needed for the public's use. So I look forward to that committee meeting. I understand the residents on both sides of the aisle And certainly, when it was first proposed, I had a lot of questions about how people knew about it. And so, again, you have to be extremely transparent. So I do know that if you're down here, you do know about it, but that after the fact and you're still scrambling around, I think knowing that needs to be maybe someday in the future, might not be tomorrow, but a proper turnaround so the street becomes a standard street as opposed to a substandard in the future. It would be, you know, almost unfeasible for us to have to buy that back because it's going to cost enough to do that program through either CIP or a capital improvement. But I would hope that would come out in the survey, and perhaps the survey should be better known to this council ahead of time. But it's definitely a very public issue now, and it's helped this council to say we can't keep doing like this. It's got to be a standard act of this council in the future.
John Vallis.
John Vallis, 2600 Dolphin Street, Mobile, Alabama. First off, let me apologize to everybody because I think I'm the instigator for what we're discussing here in terms of this property as well as Shadow Gay. But what I want to apologize for is a passion I have for Midtown. If you look at my track record of what I've done in Crichton, up and down Old Road, Tomanville, I just really, Midtown has so much to offer, and that's why I've lived there for well over 25 years and have raised my 5 kids in that area. And I'm not going to stop today. This process today is not going to stop me going out looking for these little crown jewels to try to do something better for Mobile. Over 15 months ago, I approached the city about purchasing this vacant land for residential development. During this time, I met with or had discussions with various city departments, including real estate, engineering, planning, legal, along with councilman. I've done everything the city has requested during this process. I knew it was subject to council approval. I've stated numerous times during these meetings or via with city reps that once they had a contract on the property, that I'd meet with the residents to discuss my plans. I know there will be a lot of discussion that I should have met with the residents in advance, and I regret that. However, I first needed a contract so that I could engage an engineer to help create such a plan on exactly what could be developed prior to presenting something to neighbors. In recent discussions or emails, I stated my intention was for residential development. Never had I proposed developing apartments on this site, as was mentioned in a petition that may be before you today. In an email to the city dated October 30th, 2018, I stated, I have a home builder coming down next week, and I've convinced them they need to build new houses in Midtown. We think the Durandi property could be ideal for this, similar to Grant Park, which I was also involved in. When the contract came before the council on March 6th, it was voted to be held over until April 15th. However, now we're here today, 2 weeks prior to my contract being voted on, so that the council can vote on selling to another party. That just does not seem right. During this time, the city has requested that I withdraw my offer, which I have not done. I negotiated in good faith with the city for well over a year, and now somehow in a matter of 3 weeks, the city has finalized to sell to another party. Prior to executing my contract, the city informed me that before being placed on the council agenda for approval, that I would have to pay and reimburse the city for the appraisal, which I did. I understand this was not a requirement placed on this other party. I was required a $5,000 deposit, and this other contract was only required a $1,000 deposit. It appears rules are being applied differently for different people. It would only seem fair that with multiple interested parties, the city should delay vote so all prospective buyers could submit an offer. This is no different than the city has sold other properties. Recently, the city put out RFPs on both the Ashland Place Fire Station and the Norfolk Southern, advertising those properties for sale. I understand this is the same process the city is doing for the sale of Chattagooly lots. I don't believe the council rep where all those properties are located was allowed to go select a buyer and rush it through a council vote. I firmly believe that this property is ideal for residential development of single-family homes. That would greatly help that area. On the city's very own new map for Mobile, this property is shown as being suitable for low-density residential. In fact, your Joel, an email to me in May of 2018 confirmed you felt the same. What does it say about our vision for the growth of Mobile or Midtown that it's determined that property should only be used so backyards can be extended and new walls can be constructed? There is not a single benefit to the city under that scenario. A few years ago, Heron Lakes had a narrow strip of property that was not accessible from the street, and they sold that strip of property to adjoining owners. I checked the Revenue Commissioner's website, and the annual property tax for one of those parcels was $150. So if these 5 or 6 homeowners buy this property, is that 1 minute or that's it? Okay, that would be $900 total. Compare that to new homes, which would be $2,000 a year, and if there's 12 to 15 new homes, that would be $30,000. This is just not property taxes, but does not even take into account the additional benefits to the city, such as sales tax, jobs being created, and new homes during construction. I checked the city permitting department on how many new home building permits were issued in 2018 and 2019 for zip code 36606. There have been zero new homes. The city is losing population outside our city limits or to Baldwin County because there are very few areas where you can build new homes. In an article in Lanyap about the city hiring a consultant for the map of Mobile, the city rep is quoted. A classic example is we had to sprawl just like every other community and move west. We have larger subdivisions. You know, we have demographic groups who want to live back closer to the urban core, which means redevelopment of some of our neighborhoods. This is exactly what I'm proposing to do, which is fully compatible and consistent with the goal for the map of Mobile. Thank you.
Madam City Clerk.
Janice Little. Is it?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name's Jamie Little.
Jamie, sorry.
Jamie, quite all right. Jamie Little, 2785 Weston Drive. First, let me say that my business will not be quite as complicated as some of the other things here. It will not merely be as exciting as the tree climbing contest in Lions Park, so I need to put that on my calendar. Today, I'm in Darby Creek neighborhood, District 6, and we're here. We'd like to thank, of course, the mayor, city council for the opportunity to have 100% of our neighbors join the annexing to the city. I have a couple of neighbors with me here. When I say 100%, what I mean is that all 100% of our neighbors have signed the petition to annex in Mobile City. So while we understand the vote is not until next week, we're here to merely thank you for the opportunity, show our gratitude, and we appreciate the chance to join the city of Mobile. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you coming down.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Ordinance is held over. 63012 to amend Chapter 63 of the Mobile City Code pertaining to rates for service.
Move to lay over to April 16th.
Second.
Properly motion and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Items laid over.
88013, authorize the sale of city property located on Durand Drive, not now needed by the city of Mobile.
So
moved. Second.
Properly motion and second. Any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Daves.
I want to, excuse me, go back and start at the beginning, because I think it's important to get the sequence of events down. Mr. Vallis, I have tremendous respect and admiration for, and is one of the best developers we have in the city and has really done some remarkable projects. Contacted me about this, as he says, some time ago, almost a year ago. And my initial sense from what he told me was that it sounded like a good idea. I suggested to him at the time that he contact the nearby residents. I was particularly at that time, and I've told this to the Delwood group, particularly concerned about the Durand Drive folks because they were across the street. And I suggested that he contact them. I believe that my conversations I've had with the staff suggested to him that he also contact the nearby residents. He elected not to do that. The next thing I knew about it was we didn't, on Mardi Gras Day, we didn't meet, and so we met on Ash Wednesday. And I had been out of town that weekend, and when I saw the agenda, which was on Monday, I believe, I saw that, that's the first time I saw this. And so Wednesday morning, prior to our pre-council meeting, I asked Mr. Christensen, I had two questions. The first question was, what is the property currently zoned? And he said it's R1. And I said, is there any agreement with Mr. Vallis on the part of the city to rezone it? And Mr. Christensen said no, there was not. At that point, I thought that as long as it wasn't being rezoned, that it was being sold as R1, that the nearby property owners would probably not have any objection. I was wrong. I have misjudged a lot of this along the way. I freely admit this. I've admitted it to anyone who wanted to talk to me about it. Once I got in touch with the Delwood folks, it became clear that they were opposed to the sale to Mr. Vallis, period. Whether it was R1 or not R1, opposed to the sale. I emailed, the only two emails I had of residents of Durand, and advised them of the situation. And since then, I've had a number of conversations with both the Delwood folks and the Durand folks. You know, I get to change my mind. As situations develop and facts emerge, I get to change my mind. And when it became clear that that the sale to Mr. Vallis had very little, if any, support in the neighborhood, since that time, I have been fully in support of the sale to the Delwood Group. I think that the sale to the Delwood Group is the best outcome for the city and for the neighborhood. It gets the property off the city's rolls. It preserves the property as R1. It preserves the character of the neighborhood. There's nothing we can do that is going to make everybody happy. There are going to be some people unhappy with whatever resolution we come to. I think that this, as I've said, I think that this resolution, and I'm very appreciative of the Delwood Group being willing to step forward and purchase the property for the fair market value, which had been established by an MAI appraisal, and pay the closing costs, which includes $1,000 to go back to Mr. Vallis for what he paid for the appraisal. So again, I think this is a win-win-win solution. We've got not only the Delwood folks, we've got 200 and something people that have signed on that petition. There has not been, I've heard from the Durand folks, but I haven't heard one resident stand up and say they support the sale to Mr. Vallis. So I think that this solution, the sale to the Delwood Group, is the best solution for the city and for the residents. And I would urge my fellow council persons to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daves. Anyone else that would like to have an opportunity to offer comment here?
I just,
Mrs. Rich?
Since the first thing we have to do is say that it's no longer needed by the city, do we want to make sure that the survey would still retain property that could someday, I'm not saying it's happening tomorrow, but make a substandard street to standard, because that improves everybody's lots, and especially the people who front onto Durand. Because
I'm not sure it's a substandard. I think it's built to city standard.
No, it has no proper turnaround. It doesn't have a cul-de-sac. It doesn't have a cul-de-sac.
The Delwood folks.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I mean, it would have to be. It would have to be built, and you wouldn't have that public land anymore. But if you have a lot that doesn't really need it anyway, wouldn't you want the survey to read exactly what we're not needed ever in the future? Because the whole idea of why you dispose of property. Yeah. So if the street that, I mean, I drove it, it is a substandard, it would be considered a substandard street. So therefore, if there was ever a capital improvement project, it would seem we would have to come in and purchase property if we give that property to the Delwood community.
All right, are you just talking about the turnaround?
Yes, I'm talking about making sure that you retain what could be of value to this city and to the community at large on that street.
Are y'all willing to say that you will dedicate enough property for the turnaround to the city?
At the end of it, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, if that would be part of the survey, it would make me, I understand exactly where both sides are coming from, even Mr. Vallis, because he dealt with a system that he thought was the proper mechanism.
Mr. Christensen, I think, has a relevant comment. If you mind.
I don't mind. Come on, Mr. Christensen.
Could that be included when they survey for when we transfer?
And actually, the western part of the property, there's already an existing drainage ditch that runs north-south. We've had some preliminary discussions with the group that the city will need to maintain an easement to cover that. I'm assuming that the Delwood group would not want to maintain the drainage ditch. The city is willing to do it. Yes, it's quite substantial, and it serves some of the Durand Drive as well. The drainage from there goes into the ditch and goes south. That turnaround area is actually over a part of the enclosed, is a culvert that continues on. So when we work with these folks with the survey, we will have to carve out an easement for the city that would run the full length that would include that. And in addition to just being a drainage easement, it would have to be some sort of access easement.
Right.
So it shouldn't really be a problem, I wouldn't think, from their point or from ours to make that work out.
Part of the survey.
In the end.
Okay.
And that's been anticipated.
Yeah.
We just haven't got to that point.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Anyone? Mr. Williams?
Thank you. First of all, I came here after retiring from the Army, and I knew no one except my wife. And then I met a guy named John Vallis, and I knew this guy was doing a lot of work. And we became friends, golfed together. This is simply one of those times when he and I are going to disagree. And I hope that I can help him in the future and always try to, since I've been on the council, certainly. Delaying this, I do not believe, changes the outcome in any way. That my position will always be, even this committee, that somehow we have to start with abutting properties. And we do that when we talk about closing roads. You can't do so without the consent of abutting properties. And abutting properties is throughout, I'm no lawyer, but in the statutes that deal with land. And so I don't know that we'd ever come up with something different. I'm confident that this one is being done right. While it's a little bit awkward for all of us and maybe a little unorthodox, the right thing to do right now is to carry on with what has been proposed to us. And I look forward to entering that discussion with the staff, administration, and council.
Anyone else?
I just have one. I'm sorry I didn't ask this. And then the Delwood people are not moving out their brick wall to meet the end of their, what would be their end of their new property. They're keeping that all green and will maintain.
Mr. Chair.
Ms. Gregory?
Thank you. I too to thank John for all the work that you do, developing throughout the city, and of course being a member of our planning commission. Very valuable effort there. I know that's a tough job, so thank you for doing that. So, but also I want to speak to both the neighborhood groups. Thank you for coming together and for meeting and for trying to work this out. That's what we ask our developers to do, and will be part of this new zoning ordinance as we go forward for the city of Mobile to require developers who are coming in to look at properties for development to meet with neighbors first. So thank you for doing that. I know this has been, like some of my colleagues have said, it's been sort of maybe backwards, yeah, confusing, yeah, all of that. And that's the reason that we are forming this committee, to go forward to make sure that there is more of a set process when it comes to selling public land. Something came up very recently with some for sale signs going up on properties around Chattagay, which started our emails and phones ringing. So we want to make sure that everybody knows what the process is, so when when the city does have property, it's not now needed for public use, we can put it up for sale and notify everyone so that everybody has a fair chance at being able to, to purchase it, and they know what the rules are. So I look forward to serving on that committee. With this particular property and this particular sale, though, my hope is that we don't get it mixed up in the Chattagay issues, that this has been in the pipeline for a while, so I would prefer to go ahead and move forward on this. I understand some of the folks who live in Durandi Drive area would like us to slow it down, to provide more notification and that sort of thing, but all of the signatures that are already on this petition, and with the kind of meetings that you all have had, it sounds like the notification is pretty much out there, that people know what's going on. And I agree with Mr. Williams that I don't think a delay of 2 weeks or a month is really going to change the outcome. So with those things in mind, and knowing that this type of sale to the property owners would protect the integrity and character of the neighborhood, which is generally the goal of this council, to work with the neighbors, and that it will remain an R1, keep the green space, it will be maintained, certainly better than what the city has been able to do. I think those are all good, and I think we need to look favorably upon the sale to the neighbors, and of course work with the city and the neighbors to make that turnaround, make that work. We want to make sure that trucks can get in and out and pick up your garbage and trash. So with those things, I would urge my colleagues to move forward and approve this as well. I think it's going to be the best outcome for the city. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Gregory. Mr.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vice President. I'd like to first recognize that we see your bear is up here. Raise your hand.
Oh, I see.
She is from the Chattagay community. Do we have anybody else in here from Chattagay? Chattagay is in the house. Chattagay is in the house. I want the people in Chattagay to know that before the city can sell any property over there, this council must first deem it no longer not needed. The council is just not going to do that. We're going to go home and rest. We're not getting ready to do anything. Because a new committee has been assigned, I'm part of that committee to come back with standard rules whereby we dispose our property. And you all will be in that mix. Nobody's getting ready to do anything. The council will act first, and with some rules, and the rules going to call for all of us knowing what's going on and not the city. You wake up one morning and the city got signs everywhere, that's out. So I just want you all to rest assured we're not ready to do anything, because we got a long ways to go before we come to the point that the city going to dispose any more of its property. We got to have some rules, and we're going to come back with some rules. Now, in regards to 88013, let me say that I've been out for almost 5 weeks. I had a medical issue that I had to correct. I was not here on the 6th of March when Mr. Valle's contract appeared on this council, and it was laid over into the 16th. So I wasn't aware of any of that because I was home. It wasn't until 8813 surfaced that I discovered that a contract or had been previously given to somebody else for the same property for the same amount of money, and that became disturbing to me. Let me just say, we operate based on the law, and sometimes the law says it's not how we feel in our heart. I don't drink, I never have. But there are issues coming for us where people want to get liquor license. I had to get my feeling out of it and go vote on what the law said I ought to do. If I'm unwilling to abide by the law, not to run. If I'm so fixed on what the Bible said, that what everybody else say, and I can't abide by what the law say, I shouldn't even be down here. The law has got to prevail above anything else we said. So this morning, well, this opportunity I had to be with the council to all of these matters that come before us. I raised the question, can the city legally withdraw a contract from a person and issue the same contract to another person or persons for the same amount of money? Can the city just tell me, I'm not selling it to you, I'm going to sell it to them for the same amount of money? I was told it's the city's property and the city can do it. I would have thought that the city couldn't do that. I was told that the city can do it. And that's what the city did. The city went into contract with Mr. Vallis, and lo and behold, they're selling it to somebody else. I think when we finish up with bringing our report back in on how we dispose of property, I don't think that's going to be in there, that you can do that. I'm not be able to do that. And and to say that there are some people in this community who may not like X, Y, Z, Willie, and James, and so we are not. I moved to Chattagay in 1975 on Lafayette Drive. And all hell broke loose. Fred Richardson had moved into Chattagay. So what they did, they came out with a covenant. And the covenant read that unless a black person was domiciled there as a servant, they can never live in Chattagay. I pulled out the 1964 Civil Rights Act that said Fred Richardson can move wherever he wants to if he has the money. It negated any covenant that had negotiated prior to 1964. I'm a free man. I buy wherever I want to buy, move where I want to move. As a matter of fact, I left there and I moved out to West Mobile after the first one moved out there, Hickory Ridge. And I live where I live now, in Linwood. I was the first one to move over there. My point is, this picking and choosing, I don't think we ought to really do it. But in this instance, I asked our attorney, can the city legally do that? She said it's the city's property. The city can do it. Mr. Vallis lives in my district. He lives in District 1, the same way I live. We all live in Midtown. And I have known him down through the years to be an outstanding individual and outstanding businessman. And when I saw that he had the first contract, I was even more disturbed because I know who he is and what he stands for. But in the end of all of this, I was told that the city can take the contract and give it to somebody else. I mean, our attorney, you want to weigh in?
I just want to clarify that neither Mr. Vallis nor the neighborhood has a contract. It's not a contract until it's been approved by the council. What is before the council are competing offers to purchase.
So they took the offer back?
No, there's still the offer on the table, but you don't have a contract until the council approves it.
Okay.
So there's no existing contracts.
Okay. So on the 6th, what was that? What would you call that?
It was a proposal. It was a
proposal.
proposed contract.
A proposal.
And you could have approved it or not approved it.
Right.
And this is a proposed contract. You can approve it or not approve it.
No, so again, you're saying that the city can go through with a proposal or not?
Correct.
It's a
Council's decision whether to dispose of property and on what terms.
Yes.
That's y'all's decision.
Okay.
And it's not final until there's a vote.
Okay.
Now, that's not to say that the procedures of how those contracts come to the agenda can't be improved, and hopefully the committee will do that.
We will.
But currently there are no contracts on these properties.
Okay, I'll propose until there's a vote. Okay, but it seems like it's enough votes to move forward. But I want to say that I hope that nothing of this nature will come back before this council as what we did with today. I think we ought to be clear in what we do. There ought not to be no duplicity. It ought not to be ambiguous. We ought not to be reading one thing in it. It ought to be whatever we put on this agenda, it ought to be something to stand. It ought not be confusing. And I would promise you that we're going to work to make sure that in the future, when we dispose of the city's property, it's going to be open and there will be no confusion. We're not going to invent the wheel. We're going to look at what the other cities are already doing. We're going to find the best practice. That's what hopefully we're going to do here.
Mr. Vice President, I just want to assure Councilman Richardson that there is no one sitting at this dais who hopes we never have a situation like this come before us more than me.
Question.
All right. At the end of the discussion, hopefully, unless Mr. Small, do you have anything?
I said earlier.
So, if not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
The item passes 6-2.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make remarks at the Bay Bears luncheon this morning, or this afternoon, so I'm late. So I'm going to move out.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely, clerk.
Consent resolutions held over 40, 231, 233, and 234, declaring structures public nuisances, ordering them demolished.
Move to hold over 3 weeks.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
No.
If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Items held over 3 weeks.
Resolutions held over 09299, allocate monies from capital fund to police administration fund. 21300, authorized contract with Johnson Controls for security upgrade Central Fire Station. Number 3, 21301, authorized performance contract with Feeding the Gulf Coast. 21302, authorized performance contract with Sickle Cell Disease Association. 21303, authorized contract with Johnson Controls for fire extinguishers, inspection and maintenance, various locations. 21304, authorized contract with Terracon Consultants for 2018 PAYGO. 21305, authorized and 306 are authorizing performance contracts with Mobile Ballet Inc. and Mobile Area Tennis Association. 21307, authorized contract with Walter Controls for DDC control system inspection and preventative maintenance at the Mobile Museum of Art and the Public Safety Complex. 21308, authorized contract with Tex LLC for right-of-way ditching services. 21309, authorized performance contract with Reese's Senior Bowl LLC. 21310, authorized hold that one out. 21311, authorized professional services contract with Jeremiah Moody, technician, Department of Justice Sexual Assault Kit Initiative. 25312, accept 25312, 313, and 314 are accepting temporary construction easement from Alabama Credit Union needed for Tiger 2016 for 2 permanent drainage easements needed for the Florida Street Drainage Project, and accepting 8 temporary construction easements needed for the CIP citywide miscellaneous drainage repairs.
So move.
Second. Properly motion and second, any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passed. Items passed.
21310, authorized professional services contract with Patricia Susan Tessier, senior analyst.
Motion to table.
Second.
Properly motion and second, any discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Items tabled.
Ordinances being introduced for the first time, 34014 through 30016.
By council rules, these orders were held for 1 week.
Consent resolutions being introduced, 37316 through 6327.
Motion to suspend rules for immediate consideration of resolution 37316 through 6327.
I thought we were holding no 316 and 317.
With the exception of 316 and 317. They were for 1 week by council rules.
Need a second?
Second.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
4318, declare the 4318, 319, 320, 321, 322, and 323 are declaring structures at 566 Base Lane, 857 Elmira Street, 2457 Dolphin Island Parkway, 3917 Dolphin Island Parkway, 2217 Hoppin Street, 2301 Hillwood Drive East, public nuisances, and ordering them demolished. 58324, add Daltrey's Lawn Care to the list of private contractors to abate properties declared public nuisances. 58325, assess cost for removal of weeds. Weedling Group 1582. 08326, approve requisitions over $7,500 for the week of March 25th. 6327, approve award of spend bonus to the Officer of the Month, Raymond Grissett.
So move.
Second.
Proper motion and second, any discussion?
No.
Richardson?
I said no.
Oh, I thought you said discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Items passed.
CIP resolutions being introduced, 21328 through 21330.
Motion to suspend the rules for immediate consideration of resolution 21328 through 21330.
328 is 178,000.
He's gone.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Wait a minute,
he made the motion.
He made the motion, he can't second. Somebody else to make the second. Proper motion and second, any discussion? No. If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
21328, authorized contract of SC Stagner Contracting for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. basketball court site improvements. 21329, authorized contract with Iker Construction Corporation for park drainage and site amenities improvements. 21330, authorized contract with Cornerstone Hard Surface Restoration for the Hope Community Center service contract floor wax removal and tile surface restoration.
So moved.
Second.
Proper motion and second, any discussion? I just want to say very quickly that these items are near and dear to the hearts of several residents of District 2. Improvements along the avenue with the basketball court and site improvements, the drainage and site amenity improvements out in the Kid Park, and also the removal of all of the just awful tile there at the Hope Recreation Center. These are very important items, and I am just really glad that we're going to be able to vote on today. This is great. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
None.
All right, items passed, 6-0.
Resolutions being introduced for the first time, 21331 through 37339.
By council rules said resolution was over for one week.
Call for public hearings, 41340, call for public hearing to rezone property at 4059 Halls Mill Road, south side of Halls Mill Road, 325 feet east of Azalea Road from B1 to I1, scheduled April 30th.
So move.
Second. Proper motion and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearings are called.
Announcements.
Mr. Small.
Thank you, Mr. President. Manzi, on last Tuesday evening, we had our district meeting. It was very well attended. I believe I had a Fred Richardson meeting. If I can ask Deidre, can she agree with that one? It was real long, lengthy, but it was very well informed. I believe we had over 300 residents that showed up. Key people speaking was Mr. Chris Curry from the airport, and also Ms. Michelle Hurdle, and I'd like to thank the many other people that had came out to support and that was on our district meeting on last Tuesday. And also I'd like to thank the Gilliard Elementary School for opening up their doors. District 3, please mark your calendars for our 7th annual Easter egg hunt, which will be held on Saturday, April the 20th from 3 to 5 p.m. at the Taylor Park. Please come out and enjoy the free food, drinks, ice cream, spacewalk, and of course the Easter Bunny. We have over 3,000 eggs coming to our district, and we're inviting all the kids to come out for this family-friendly event. Thank you, Vice President Manzi.
Mr. Richardson.
Mr. President, the Public Safety Committee will be meeting at 1:30 today in the conference room. It's open to the public. We're asking all who are interested to please come by. I just want to say that last week that the Del LaFleur High School held their Honors Day program. Last year they were on the failing list, so we harnessed all efforts to help them to get off that list. On the day that the kids were going to take the test, they asked me to come over, and I had buttons made that said, "We will not fail." And I was able to pin a button on every student who went in to take that test. The principal asked me to make buttons for every student in the high school, and I did it. And it ignited a new sense of pride. They went in, and they are no longer on a failing list. They are in a clear status, and they brought all of the kids back for Honors Day and invited me to be the Honors Day speaker, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Just want to make mention of it.
Mrs. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I wanted to remind all residents of District 5 and really any other resident of the city that we're having our spring District 5 community meeting this evening at 6:00 p.m. at Westminster Presbyterian Church, corner of Sage Avenue and Airport Boulevard. The invited guests are Mayor Stimson, Police Chief Lawrence Batiste, and Acting Public Services Director John Peavy. It's 6:00 p.m. tonight, Westminster Presbyterian Church, Sage, and Airport. Thank you.
Thank you. I just would like to announce that the Mobile's Pops concert will take place this coming Monday, April 8th at 7 p.m. at the Medal of Honor Park in the Bicentennial Pavilion. It's a great concert, free and open to the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. My meeting last Thursday evening at the Mobile Botanical Gardens was also a packed house. Most folks there were interested in one particular issue, and some of them left after we finished talking about it, but most of them stayed. I just want to thank the Mobile Botanical Garden, in particular Robin Kraychek, for being such gracious host every time we asked to come out there. Thanks also to the mayor who came to provide a status update on the 3 Mile Creek project, which was what most of the people at my meeting were interested in. And I think everyone left feeling very relieved and supportive and very satisfied with what we told them, and I really, again, appreciate the mayor and Shayla Biko and her staff for providing us with the very latest information. Thanks also to Chief Batiste, Assistant Chief Clay Godwin, Captain Rodney Greeley, Peter Toller and Tony Ebright for coming and providing information to the group. Always good to have them there with the latest information and, of course, answer any questions that were asked. Before the meeting, the mayor joined me and members of the board and Robin Kraychek to tour the Magnolia Hill Education Center. It's just up the hill from the Botanical Gardens in the place where you may be familiar with the former Old City Greenhouse Complex. So the Botanical Gardens has taken over that piece of property there, and they are making renovations. And one of the things that will be starting soon will be some work with beehives and chickens and I don't even know what else, but it's going to be a really terrific asset for the community, for the entire city. I can imagine all of the children and adults who will like to come out and learn about how bees make honey and why they are so important, and also to look at the chickens, and they haven't decided yet if they're going to do anything with any eggs. I think that's all up in the air yet, but just a lot of exciting things at the Mobile Botanical Gardens, and if you have not visited, I urge you to do so. It is a beautiful piece of property. It is city land. The Botanical Gardens group just manages it for us. They lease it. So it is city property, and I'm always happy to do what I can to help them turn it into a better place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Gregory. I knew it was just too good to be featured. Going back to Mr.
This is real quick. Yesterday I received a booklet from the Recreation Department, and it listed all scheduled events in all of our parks all across the city. And after having read that, I sent a letter to Master Stimson, but I copied one Paul, and he's here. And I just wanted to say to Paul, in my letter to Master Stimson yesterday, the Parks Department said they was going to cut the water off at the pavilions. I have 3 pavilions in Tricentennial Park, and at each one of those pavilions, I made sure when they built the pavilion, I put enough money in there for them to add the amenities, for them to add lights, water, and a grill in case someone wanted to come and cook fish or steak or whatever. Well, the Parks Department, they're going to cut the water off and the lights off at these pavilions. And my appeal is let the water alone, leave the lights on. You want to do that at night, that's fine. But when the people are out there, they normally what they do, they put the music on, they plug in, they put the music on, to soothe them. And if they're going to cook something, they wash their hands, and all of that is there. But for the citizens, we're going to cut the water off. I'm asking to leave the water on. Do not cut the water off and let the lights alone. And we just built the park in Creighton, and it's a pavilion there, and they told me that they didn't have no way to get in lights. I paid extra money for the Alabama Power Company to put a pole up so we could have lights and water at that pavilion, and I want the people to be able to use the lights and the water.